Hello, my name is Elijah, and this is a short presentation which I will provide the target breach analysis. In this presentation, we will analyze and understand the target breach that occurred back in 2013. In addition, understanding the security strategy and how it can be applied in this case study. Let's first move on to see how Target was breached. In December 2013, there was one of the biggest breach at a well-known brand, Target. Target shoppers received an unwelcome holiday surprise when news announced that 40 million credit cards were stolen by accessing data and point of systems. The breach occurred between November 27th and December 15th, 2013. Over 11 gigabytes of data was stolen, and Target missed the internal alerts of the breach and discovered when contacted by the Department of Justice. Banks had to refund stolen money and pay for replacement cards costing more than $200 million, and identity thefts were all-time high in the first half of 2014. Target was undergoing an investigation with the Department of Justice, and individual state laws resulted in fines and legal processing over the PCI compliance. Furthermore, due to such incident, Target's reputation was tarnished and profits dropped 46% in the fourth quarter of 2013. The security strategy includes risk management, defense in depth, and critical controls. Risk management is a process of identifying, accessing, and controlling risks and issues that can potentially be a threat to an organization. Target to be PCI compliant is not a risk management strategy. Assessments and implementation details can possess the greatest risk to the organization and could fall outside the scope of PCI. Ferguson stated a security system is only as strong as its weakest link. Defense in depth is a layered approach to security created by the National Security Agency. SANS Institute claims that critical controls are added to the list because they help prevent and detect known attacks effectively. Let's do a deep dive on each one, starting with risk management. As mentioned previously, risk management is the process of identifying, assessing, and controlling risk and issues that can potentially be a threat to our organization. Rather than relying on mandated checklists, organizations will be better off mitigating risk by performing a wide risk management activities periodically. And Figure 1 is a risk analysis matrix developed by SANS Institute. The vulnerabilities with the highest likelihood of occurring and most severe consequences would be prioritized. How you would prioritize is from the top right corner, and you would work your way down to the left. Organizations need to employ adequate security professionals that understands the business risk and potential losses. Organizations with a strong risk management team and program in what is one strategy to reducing the vulnerabilities of cyber threat. Next on the security strategy is the defense in depth. You may be wondering what an onion has anything to do with security and defense in depth. It is like an onion which has multiple layers that protects the inner core of the organization. For you to get the center core of the onion, you must cut through layer after layer. A single layer protection can be easily penetrated. However, implementing multiple layers of defense will further protect the organization assets. Defense in depth is sufficient by purchasing expensive hardware and software to protect assets. Without well-trained security professionals that can maximize the benefit of each tool's hardware and software, will an organization prevent or minimize cyber threats. Unfortunately for Target, having expensive monitoring software was more of a liability due to the inadequate security professionals that could efficiently and effectively utilize these resources to protect Target. The last security strategy is the critical controls, and the federal government arranged a consortium of public and private organizations to produce a list of critical controls based on the various other cybersecurity lists and guidelines. It also helps to prevent and detect known attacks for organizations. Figure 4, the Center for Internet Security Controls chart, formerly known as critical security controls, are a recommended set of actions for cyber defense that provide specific and actionable ways to prevent dangerous attacks. In this chart, version 7 on the left is an older version, and the newest version 8 on the right was recently developed, and they reduced it from 20 to 18, starting from inventory and control of enterprise assets, and you work your way down all the way to penetration testing. Let's see how the security strategy can be applied to this target case. The risk management is related to the target and point of sale system. This includes the risk prioritization and analyzing all their systems. If you recall the table earlier, you want to prioritize with the most likelihood and the most severity of consequences. And the risk should be prioritized so that some of the vulnerabilities used to attack the system in this breach may have been prevented. Threat models created for systems throughout the network could have uncovered the attacks. Second, analyzing the systems for vulnerabilities would have likely reviewed flaws that exploited by the attackers to gain access to the system. Thoroughly analyzing and understanding the flow of the system would have helped Target to identify any possible threat or malicious software. Target had many security measures throughout their infrastructure. However, due to the lack of depth, the attackers were able to penetrate Target's infrastructure. Applying a stronger defense in depth with multiple layer security strategy would have prevented such a breach. One of the issues with Target's breach was that the attackers were able to gain access to millions of credit cards information stored on the POS system. With the proper layered defense would have made it more difficult for attackers to gain massive amount of data and could have slowed them down enough for target cyber team to identify and stop the breach. Second, the application whitelisting would have allowed only authorized softwares to run through the POS system. Jason Pop, Group Manager of Security Architecture, suggested that process separate from the POS system and software management tools. As mentioned previously, the critical controls are a prioritized list of controls that are chosen to prevent known attacks. Based on the target breach, the effectiveness of the controls can be determined if they would have helped prevent the attack. And the paper provides a long list of the critical controls, which we do not have the time to review each one. However, to highlight just a few, the first one is malware installed on the POS systems. Whitelisting would not have allowed the malware to be installed on the POS. Scanning for configurational changes and Tripwire would have alerted the team two of these changes. For example, Tripwire alerted Sally Beauty, another retail organization, of their credit card breaches. However, the report doesn't indicate if the software was installed on the POS system. Second is the data moved to the dropped locations, employing tools within the parameters to monitor sensitive data leaving the company in clear text or using the data loss prevention system if applicable. And in addition, a continuously monitoring traffic would have helped identify any unusual activities within the network. Target invested in security to protect their assets. However, hackers were able to find a way to infiltrate the network. This example of the breach confirms that being PCI compliant is not sufficient to prevent any attack from cyber threat actors. As presented in this analysis, the author provided the security strategies that could have prevented this attack. Even the cybersecurity strategies does not guarantee that the organization will be protected from the hackers. However, implementing these strategies will reduce the possibilities of another breach. To read the full white paper used in this presentation, you can find the link on the next page under the reference. And these are the references used to gather the information to provide you the presentation. This concludes the presentation. Thank you.